Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here live on the Dukect Lounge. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for sitting here. And, well, boys and girls, well, we have more talk because this is the main event. And the main event is Marvel is in the mud. And no, I'm not talking about that terrible scripts thing with WNXT, which is if you ever watch if you haven't seen it, just imagine if you are old like myself or you're on YouTube and you are. Hopefully, after you do this video, just type in MC Hammer Death Row Records. You'll see what he did. MC Hammer doing that, and you're like, oh yeah, you'll get it. Trust me, you're gonna sit back and get it. Anyway, Marvel's in crisis. Oh no, all the stuff is falling down. What's going on? Oh, what's going on? Why is no one going to see Marvel movies? Well, let's really be honest. Let's see. The reason why a lot of people look at this is Jonathan Majors and the whole thing about the sexual assault, which a lot of people are talking about. And honestly, if he's innocent, he's innocent. He's guilty. If he's guilty, lock him up. And if he's innocent, let him go free or whatever. And honestly, personally, the way they did the whole Kane thing was pretty stupid. You have him basically not just lose a Disney Plus show, which barely anyone saw. You have him lose to Ant-Man, lose to Ants, and now he's dead again. Three in the season 2 of Loki. 2 times he's been killed off in Loki, a Disney Plus show. And another time in a movie with Ant-Man, why the heck are you going to put this stuff here? It's so stupid. The way they handle these characters are pretty stupid. And that's the problem. And now they can see they're trying to pivot, but it just doesn't work. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, Jonathan Majors is not the only one about the sexual assault. There's another one that is also, this issue tier 2 is Tanakua, the one who portrayed Namor in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. He has been accused. This was in June of this year. He was accused of sexual assault by Maria Elena Rios in a series of public tweets. Rios attempted to distance herself from Pierre Poder Petro, an organization focusing combating racism in Mexico, of which the Black Panther 2 star is a member. One tweet, translated in Spanish, she claimed Huerta to be a violent and sexual predator, and the organization allegedly pursued her in order to avoid scandals over their Marvel movie. I made it very clear to them when I left their sect that they protect the violator and sexual predator of Tarnak Huerta, that they did not publish anything about me. They still went to look for me at a hypocritical ball concert to avoid scandals over their Marvel movie. Rios continued to follow a tweet saying it's difficult to discuss the abuse of a sexual predator who is loved for playing a character in the movie, claiming Huerta was charming in appearance and a narcissist. It is very difficult to talk about the emotional issue and abuse of power of a sexual predator who is loved in the world for playing a character in a movie like Thanos Herrera. Claiming charming in appearance, the great hallmark of a narcissist, plus good helping of victimization. The actress did not go to deal about her claims, but did respond affirmatively that another user who Twitter who asked whether Herrera assaulted her, saying there are several more. As reported by the Mexican outlet Reforma, the accusations against Herrera began after Reyes claimed Paula Peruto published a podcast episode that she was a part of without paying her. They do not have consent to disseminate a material that they did not want to pay me, and that like this in several they exploited me to work for them for free. The organization responded on Twitter saying it cannot pay you for something that is not the production. We await the right to reply, and we are accused of not having to pay you for this podcast. We cannot pay you for something that is not a production. And we did not publish it. Only the content that was recommended, as we recommend content almost every day. The update right there is saying that he says it's false and completely unsubstantiated. The actor recently made his debut of Black Panther 2, was going to come back for King Dynasty. Then you have, like I said, Jonathan Majors, all this stuff here. We haven't heard much update of this story. Either this was squashed or it's still ongoing. We don't know yet. And there's so much issues about. See, oh, did I share this? Just okay. I want to make sure. All right, here we are. But like I said, this right here, looking at it, once again, there is, you know, all the comments and all that stuff here. But yeah, there is so much stuff here about this, and man, Marvel really has this this horrible type of luck here. And then you have, like I said, right here, the reason why. And now look here, there's a lot of stuff here was like right here. And I think one of the main problem is the Marvel machine was pumping out a lot of content to get to the point where there was just too much. And they were burning people out on superheroes. It's possible, says Wall Street analyst Eric Handler, who covers Disney. The more you do, the tougher it is to maintain quality. They tried experimenting with breaking in some new characters like Shang-Chi and Eternals with mixed results. The budget as big as these, you need home runs. And honestly, looking at Shang-Chi, I look at that movie and I'm sitting there like, dude, they didn't need to waste all that money on it. I mean, what happened to having a mid-budget like 45 million, stuff beating? Like, you don't need to have all this like CGI and such. People are like, oh, this CGI. I'm like, I remember having some good kung fu movies didn't cost this much money. I feel like that's the problem. They just felt like they needed to put all this money into it. Same thing with Black Widow. Way too much money. Same thing with Eternals. I liked it. I wish they could have done a little bit more with it. But yeah. Look, they say right here, they need to will struggle to get past the infield, at least by Marvel's outside standards. It costs $250 million. Yeah, this is the problem of all these movies. And heck, the Marvels, I don't even know who's the antagonist. No one knows why are these three people fighting. Like we have no idea who these people are. It's someone from a very niche villain, and it's just like it's the phase one. And I'm like, this is a problem. This is a problem. And heck, the problem is that they just phase one. It's all about phase one with these characters. It's like a restart and such. And another issue is that they turned Miss Marvel's powers into just this genie type stuff instead of having stretchy powers, which was, meanwhile, you look at One Piece, they actually did it with Luffy. They actually did it, which is, another problem with the Marvel characters. Is just like they just really don't respect any of these powers and everything. Also, this whole Nia DaCosta saying that she's she's doing working on another film, saying, oh, while she was really post production. Here's the real stuff. Because by the way, this movie, let me just see something. Okay. A lot of people say, oh, this is something so crazy that Nia DaCosta is working 2 films at once. What's going on? Meanwhile, let's see. Let's see right here. 15 directors by Karo Tozawa did the same thing. Rashomon and Scandal, All About Even No Way Out, Joseph Mankiewicz, Alfred Hitchcock, Francis Ford Coppola, Mel Brooks, John Hughes, Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. Talk about 2 things that are just dramatically different, and somehow he did this, and you see, it kept going on and on and on and on and on. Regardless of what you think of it, they actually did. These directors have done 2 multiple movies, and it's just, and then I'm like, I don't think that's an odd thing to do. And besides, most of these films are are done by a committee and done by they're not really a director's hand. There's not these Marvel movies for the most part don't have any director touch to it. The most director's touch to it is probably maybe Sam Raimi, but other than that, and maybe the Russo brothers. That's it. I mean, the only ones I could say is you know because those are the things. Because it's honestly just feel like a committee and such. I mean, you could say that Josh Whedon had some stuff to it, yeah, but you notice more often now it's just done by committee. Real directors don't really have much power to it. That's why you're not going to see a Christopher Nolan do something like that, or some of these people like say it's a film by committee. It's not really movies. You're not putting an imprint on it. It's just content. You know. And then it just says a lot of people are saying that Kevin Feige is also spread too thin. I agree. I think that's the problem, is that he doesn't really, he's overlooked, he's over all the stuff. And meanwhile, everyone looks at, for example, the Marvel's VFX battalion struggling to compete to keep pace. You got like, yeah, Quantum Mania, just like right here, quote, it says, one veteran power broker says there were at least 10 scenes where the visual effects have been added at the last minute and were out of focus. It was insane. I've never seen something like that in my entire career. Everyone was talking about it. Even the kids of executives were talking about it. Yeah, the Marvels had left the Ant-Man sequel in a squeeze, pushing up production schedules by 4.5 months. Marvel films are known for going down to the wild, giving Fergus to foam the runway and land the plane that way. One executive familiar with how the company operates, but this level of unfinished, unprecedented, and would be noted in scary reviews when Temple moves with the $200 million budget opened 11 days after premiere. Critics weren't only ones dismayed. Fed up with the 14-hour days, no overtime, and all the extra other stuff, Marvel workers, I think they should be they unionize. And honestly, I wish they could I wish they start striking now. But the problem is they go overseas, and there's no real consequence for that. But I just said this positive is that the straw that broke the camel's back, said a former Marvel Studios VFX assistant coordinator Anna George, who testified for the Congressional Labor Caucus at October 19th. The pay and long hours at Marvel were the reason we had to start our unionization process there. The conditions were completely unsustainable. Yeah. And a lot of it's like this. The guillotine was like Victoria Alonso. Remember her? She was like, oh, well, she was this, that, and the other. But this was a scapegoat right here. And you know what? The saying that it is a system of deep rot, namely a lack of oversight in the script development. In the original arc of She-Hulk, a flashback of a star Taylor Mainsley transmission to her Hulk character didn't take place until episode 8, the premiere episode. But after Marvel's brains trust watched the footage, it realized the scene needed to happen in the pilot episode so the audience could see more of the character's backstory. That meant that the VFX team was tasked with fixing the mess in post-production. The so-called bad VFX we see was because of half-baked scripts. Half-baked scripts, says one person involved with She-Hulk. That's not Victoria. That is Kevin, and even above Kevin. Those issues should be addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing the Marvel executives to sit with the material. All the while, Marvel was bleeding money. She-Hulk cost me $25 million. A single episode. $25 million, dwarfing the budget of a final season episode of Game of Thrones. But without similar zeitgeist bang. Exactly. She-Hulk came and went. Game of Thrones is still talked about. Game of Thrones is still talked about. And its prequel series is still one of the biggest shows out there and one of the biggest stuff on HBO's stuff here. August 2022 season premiere of El Capitan Theater foreshadowed what was to come 6 months later. The Quantum Man bowed. The Seahawks subjects were out of focus in multiple scenes. There are signs that flood of market leading people to turn out. But yeah, there are a lot of people saying this is it. But you know the reason why? Quality, not quantity. They're half baked, undercooked, and this is a problem with a lot of them. And it's not all these actors' fault. I know people are like, oh, they're woke and this, that. No, I don't care how good or anything else is. When you have lack of quality, when you keep doing more and more content, spitting out content like a forever type of machine, people are not going to respond. And you have these overbloated budgets, these over and no real way to actually recoup your money. What the world are you doing? What are you doing? It's insane. It's legitimately you're not. What is Disney expecting when you're basically burning money like this? And then you get to the whole Blade stuff with Michelle. This an Oscar-winning actor. The project has got things were like a 2023 release date, but then the project got shot down with 5 writers, 2 directors, 1 shut down with 6 weeks before production. One person with the script says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women filled with life lessons, and Blade was a get what? What is this? What is this clown show? Blade is basically John Wick with vampires. How hard is it to mess this up? And they did it. But, and I'm like, oh, so you look, this type of stuff of women being, life lessons and such, but you gotta know the audience you're going into. You know what your material is. I mean, this is again, you don't know what your audience is. And now they're saying and now you had supposedly Ali, they pissed him off, so he's going to leave. And finally, we're back to the drawing board, hire Michael Green, the Oscar writer of Logan, the JC saying just fix this stuff, start anew. And now they're going to try to do it. And no, this movie is not delayed. It's 2 years late because it's 2025. It's 2 years late. This movie is 2 years late on a budget of less than 100, which is good. Should this budget, honestly, it should be like maybe 50 million. And honestly, be small, simple, him killing vampires. That's it. No real big connecting to all this other stuff. Raid, killing vampires, slowly build himself up to the MCU, and then maybe do something with the Eternals or whatever. Interesting stuff. And now, yeah, and then you see diluted, even when Iger saying, which is everyone hates him, well, he pretty much showed his ass and such, and during the whole strikes. But here's the real issue here with Bob Iger. The man, I will say this, the person, Bob Iger, I keep saying it, is all he did as the Disney CEO was just open the checkbook. All he did. Open the checkbook. Open the checkbook. That's what he did all the dang time. Bought Pixar, bought Marvel, bought Star Wars, bought Fox. And now look at all this. Pixar is relegated to irrelevancy on Disney Plus. Star Wars, same thing. Marvel is now looking right here is a confusing mess of overproduction, bloated budgets, and not really know what they're doing. Just not even having the standards of like having writers and saying here's a plot Bible or show Bible and say what's A point B C and everything else. What? And the Fox deal. Oh yes, they had to shell over $8 billion for Hulu, and they're not going to stay with Hulu. Hulu's like, and they're going to probably fold it in, killing off another streaming service because hey, they had to, and they wanted to get Sky, but guess what? Sky, the British thing, went to Comcast in a blind buying bill. So Fox does, and they'll say, well, they have Avatar. They got the Avatar. Like, they put over 100 billion, the billions of dollars on that deal. The billions of dollars. Billions, ladies and gentlemen. Billions. And maybe what, $2 billion for a movie? Great job, guys. That's great. That's so great. Also, all the other movies. What other stuff other than the film Disney Plus, which is one way the streaming service that doesn't make you any money? Exactly. They gotta bring back. Oh, and also supposedly bring back the stuff in the multiverse saga. That's not. That shows really. Why don't you do what the Flash did? Bring back them in terrible CGI. Because hey, CGI, AI, it's all gonna come back. It's gonna be great. And by the way, they're gonna probably do that to kind of make them younger or whatever. The salary of Iron Man 3 is around 25 million, so you better start save your pennies, Disney. But yeah, and then you have what's happening with you know majors, this sort of stuff. And then you look at how bad the acting was. In fact, before all this drama, you know how Jonathan Majors was a better villain? He was a better villain in Creed 3. That's right. He was a better villain in Creed 3 than in Quantum Mania because he actually had presence. He actually had a reason to hate them. What was his whole point? And then his defeat was actually really good. The way they showed how it's connected with Creed and and the person that there's a connection there. There was always a connection there about how it was. There was no connection with King and Ant-Man. There was no connection, and they're having to lose to goddamn ants. It did not exactly land; it basically collapsed. That's why I know I never want to see it. Yeah, they want to do pivots and all this stuff, but yeah. The only thing is, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which another great villain, by the way, felt more of a connection to again. And James Gunn, who's now running DC, he's gone. And I think that's what they need. I think, well, this is DC can do something. They look at all the type of stuff, but yeah. Yeah. Well, it was a bit overlooked how successful it was, but it had James Gunn, Chris Pratt. But I think the star power is coming more important. Then it was Quantum Man with 476 million. Anything under half a billion is and this is a problem. In fact, we can look back on the gaming industry too. That if it doesn't sell like Call of Duty or Zelda or something, it's a failure. You have to know exactly. You got to you know your expectations. A man's got to know his limitations. A man's got to know his limitations. And this is the problem, Marvel. They have to keep doing everything else. My hope, if James Gunn is looking at this, he saw all this stuff here. He's like, okay, what are we gonna do here to stop do this? One, we're gonna make sure our budgets are low, cheap, and we don't go off with $500 million stuff. Second, we're gonna have a clear description about what is not in part of the Marvel universe or DC universe and everything else. And then to be distinct has to be distinct and everything else. Some would say, I don't know how X-Men and everything else. Jeez. And we're still waiting for what Fantastic Four, how that's gonna be. So I just think that it looks like some say it is, but I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna have for the whole mess here because this is a mess. Marvel is in a big mess. Oh, hey, what's up, Charlie? No, I believe it's gotten better, but my personal opinion. But I think I want to hear what you thought about this, about Marvel and everything else, because I think they've been. I think what Marvel is going through now is they've written. I mean, the Russos basically made a bookend ending with Endgame. It was probably one of the biggest ways to end the story. That is how you do it, and they haven't know how to unlock the code ever since. And it just seemed like it just the only way to do it is either a nostalgia fest of No Way Home, or you just do a reboot or whatever. And I hate that. And now my fear is when I look at the characters and like, the, I hate the fact that it's women and black women. Yeah, it just I worry because things like I want to see strong black men, black women, and black girl, all this stuff here, not just in comic movies, but in our movies, and just like, well, I don't want this to turn into a place like, well, those black women can't draw a movie or whatever. Shut it down and just go back to the same bland white dudes for 10 billion years or whatever. That sort of stuff. Not looking at the content or whatever, seeing how this is. The comics and the MCU now is basically it is a convoluted. Yeah. Well, most things why I think the reason why is the DC animated films because they're one note, they barely connect unless it's a sequel. They're like, here it is, bing, bam, boom. My hope is when James Gunn gets this new DCU off the ground, they make sure we're like, okay, they know what they're doing and they can actually start basically having a bit of competition. And then Marvel can just be like, all right, we woke up. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna get ourselves back on feet. Well, maybe this is just again could be the end of all things. Who knows? But yeah, I want to hear the thoughts in the comment section and all that good stuff. Anyway, thank you guys for listening here. This is the Dukect Lounge. We'll be back on our regular night, Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully join us next week. Anyway, this is Dukect here. Peace and love. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All that good stuff. Well, that is true. Standalones and continuities. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Charlie. All right. Peace and love. I will see y'all when I see y'all later.